Tom, thanks for joining us for a Behind the Football episode. You're a face that people have seen on match days, but it's nice to catch up with you so people can understand a bit about your job. The players are back in for pre-season now. Can you talk us through about the testing that you did the first couple of days and the importance of that?
Yeah, the testing's really important. So we start off on the force plates. So there's various different jumps we do, various different strength tests we do, and that's to see for new players where they're at compared to the rest of the squad, and then for the players we've retained over the summer, just seeing their differences and where they've come back over the summer. So have they got better, have they got stronger with their off-season programs, or is there little elements we need to work on? Pre-season's massive physically, but it's also about building like a psychological and a culture within the team. So these first few days are massive with physical testing, but also trying to build that culture and rapport, especially with new players. Yeah.
What are your key responsibilities when it comes to match day as well, and during training, to warm up the players and make sure they're ready for that session?
Yeah. So my days are kind of split into around 4 parts, I would say. So we'll start off with an activation before they go out to the session, and this might be correlated to what they're about to do. So in a small space day, there's a lot of accelerations and decelerations. So we prime them in the gym prior to going out. The warm up then prepares them for that session again. After the session, we have usually a strength or a post-gym session, so this might be a power or a plyometric session, and then we're looking at the GPS data after the training session, how the players have done. Is this typical to see on this type of day? Is there more we need to do with certain players, or do we need to hold back on some players? So four main elements to my day. A match day slightly different, so we don't obviously have the gym after. It's much more GPS focused, trying to give feedback to the coaches. So if we see a player who might have done quite a lot in an element of a game or in the first half, can we give feedback to the coaches to try and inform some decisions they might make on the pitch and make their jobs a little bit easier.
And with the warm-ups for a match, what techniques are you using here, and what are you trying to achieve before the players go out to play for 90 minutes?
Yeah. So the warm-ups are obviously very specific to what they're about to do. So in a training session, we have our days periodised. So we'll have a small space day and a big space day, and the warm-up's tailored to the session they're about to go into. If it's a big space day, they're likely to hit higher speeds and sprint distance, so we prepare them for this in the warm-up. And on a match day, obviously they're going to cover all elements, so it's a bit more of a thorough warm-up on a match day, covering all bases and getting them prepared for that session. And
obviously data is hugely important to your role as well. What kind of data are you collecting during training and games, and then how do you use that data with the players, or is it more of the coach, like you were saying, the coaches to inform players?
Yeah. So the data is massive, both from match days and training days, to keep players in their right blocks and bandwidths, if you like, in lots of different metrics. So there's the total distance they might cover in training, high speed running, sprint distance, how many accelerations, how many decelerations. Each player will have an individual bandwidth to work between, and we inform the coaches if they've gone below or over this, and we try our best to keep them in these bandwidths. We then use this data, so maybe the day before we might see a person's done slightly less, so we need to go slightly more on the next day, and then vice versa. Just trying to keep them in these safe bandwidths to keep them injury free and also progress them athletically.
And I guess it depends on what stage the players are at in their career. If they're starting out or if they're coming towards the end of the career, I guess it's tailored differently then as well.
Yeah, exactly that. So the players who need slightly less physical development, we're trying to keep them in that safe bandwidth, and then younger players specifically, we're trying to push them on to captivate their maximum potential.
And how does your work integrate with the coaching staff and medical team as well, other than that?
Yeah, luckily we're a really close-knit group here, so there's a lot of communication, a lot of planning, a lot of meetings each and every day, whether it's feeding back GPS data, feeding back whether someone's hit a new max speed in training, and also relaying this to the players as well. I would say we all have a really good understanding of our individual roles as a coaching staff, and everyone's very transparent with each other. So even though it might not be their speciality in one area, there's definitely an input that a coach could have with the sports science department, or the medical team could help us out with. Being young staff as well, it's taken their experiences and using it on ourselves.
So in the scenario where a player may be coming back from like a long-term injury, how does it work with you and them kind of being like re-established into the warm-up and the team?
Yeah. So the coaches are brilliant with using players at late stage rehab to drip them in and out of drills, and then using their previous GPS data that we might have had, we'll then work them back up to that stage. So we know what sort of metrics they cover at their top fitness, and it's just gradually integrating them back up to this in a gradual process.
And what are the metrics that are most important for evaluating their readiness as well when it comes to that stage?
Yeah, okay, so when we look at sort of fatigue testing and whether they're ready to move on to the next stage, there's a lot of different tests that we do, but a main one we do is a counter movement jump. So it's a simple jump, and there's lots of different metrics this can give us. So it might be the time it takes them to get out of the jump, the time it takes them to get down before the jump, how much force they put through the plates when they're landing. All of this gives us lots of different information to see how ready they are to move on to the next stage. Whether we use fitness tests that we gain from pre-season, and obviously using the bandwidth from where we know where they're at from before injury as well.
We spoke about data as well. What technologies or software platforms do you rely on most in your role?
Yeah. So GPS data is massive, and I briefly touched on how many metrics that can give you. Sometimes you can get carried away with how many metrics there are, but a lot of our stuff is done with GPS, and the coaches are really supportive of that, and they have a lot of understanding and buy-in behind that. We use force plates again, so the strength testing we have on that, the jump testing we have on that can give you so many different metrics again to not just athletically profile players, but also take them back from a rehab perspective as well.
Are there any new sort of techniques or things you're looking at this season differently to last season?
I think we're trying to be a lot more data driven this season. To really have the scientific backing and objective data to see whether players are ready to maybe progress on to next stages, to see if we're performing at a certain level. It's using the objective data to really drive this sort of information.
And obviously, you have a really close relationship with the players, so is it important that, especially with the new players and that you get to know them and everything in the early days so you can work closely together?
Yeah. Luckily, we do the testing really early on, and then the interactions we have with the players when feeding this back to them, they're all buzzing to hit new strength scores or new jump heights, whether it's they're hitting a new max speed on the pitch. And then, especially in pre-season, it's massive to have these sort of social events, whether we're away from the training ground on a walk or going on the beach days. It's important that we have these times to build as a group away from the pitch, so then we can perform better on the pitch.
Personally, you joined the club as an intern, and you're now progressed to being full-time. I guess that's kind of a special moment for you as well to be, gone that full circle.
Yeah, I think that's something the club's really good at. So I think everyone knows how good they are at developing young players, and we've seen young players come through the academy and be really successful in their careers. But something that goes on behind the scenes is they're really good at developing staff as well. So there's a number of staff that have come through as interns and come through their university degrees and then been offered full-time jobs and have been really successful in them roles as well. So I'm very appreciative to the club to showing that care and time with me.
Just to finish as well, what was your route into sports science, and what kind of advice would you give to people who are looking to get where you are today?
Yeah, definitely. So I've done sport at college. I did a sports science degree at Exeter University, which then led me into my second year having the internship here. And I would say to try and secure these internships is, whilst you're in your early stages of being a coach, is trying to gain as much experience as possible. So it might be nagging on. Someone's always going to need a spare pair of hands somewhere, but once you get your foot in the door, it can really be a good opportunity to get involved with. So I probably got my foot in the door quite early here, and obviously was quite successful with getting the internship, then going on to stay whilst I'd done part-time uni, and now I'm here where I am. So yeah, very grateful for the club having that trust with me and having the patience with me at the start, and yeah, very happy to get going here.
You can tell it's a job that you really love as well.
Yeah, it's one of these jobs that you don't dread waking up for in the morning. You're buzzing to go for the next day, working with the players, working with a great coach and staff. I wouldn't want anything else.